krijgen we de sites. Het is deze, hè? We hebben er hier een. Hier.
We were very happy when the city of Milan and Ferrovia, the railroad company of Italy, contacted us about this commission in Milan, because it's about daily mobility and preparing cities for the future. That's really our thing. The workshop, I think, was extremely interesting for us. Imagine there was engineers, there was local people, there was people who were very much interested to make the city more green. There were directors, neighbors, and listen to all of them, their ideas, their dreams, their worries. It was very good for us to hear to be part of these workshops.
The invitation to make a study project to think about the future of 7 railway yards in Milan is an amazing and quite wonderful opportunity to think about, in general, about the future of our cities. How will our cities develop in the coming decades? And of course to think more precisely and detail, what will that mean for the city of Milan? We are looking into these railway yards as opportunities, as places that will become the catalyst for the future of the city. And we think they can become this. They are the best places in the city to become this catalyst because they are already connecting lines of infrastructure. And we do think that the future of the city is very much determined by how the movement of people, transport, mobility will develop. And there we will see incredible changes in the coming years. And with creating new hubs on the sides of these 7 railway yards, Milan has this wonderful opportunity to prepare itself for a future with less private cars, a future with much more sustainable modes and means of transport, and therefore a future where the city can become much less dominated by cars, by traffic, and will become again a place for people and a place full of green spaces instead of paved spaces that are not accessible because they are dominated by cars. The 7 railway yards, each with their specific sizes, conditions, positions in the city, don't only create the opportunity to create these hubs, these interchanges of transport modes, to connect these different modes, but they also give the opportunity to connect all the people, the inhabitants of the city, all the different groups that live together in the city. Because it's not only creating these hubs, but it's also creating new buildings, new programs, and creating new public spaces. So bringing all these things together is indeed this opportunity to create 7 new focus points in the city. And it was very interesting for us to look into this and see how each site can get its own identity because of its context and of its programs. Of course, Farini, the largest site of the 7 rail yards, gives an incredible amount of possibilities. Here we made a choice and we transposed that also to the other railway yards to make a concentration, a condensed urban fabric where all the program, housing, commercial programs, workspaces, cultural spaces come together as a kind of a small new condensed city center, and by making it so condensed we also have the possibility to create a large and very generous open green space surrounding these new interventions. And we think we can do that on each of the sites. By doing that, we create these new centers, these new focal points in the city, but we also create these green spaces that will give quality to the new development, but also to the existing city that surrounds the rail yards. Now the rail yards and the city are divided by high walls, by fences. It's like the backside of the city. If we would create new buildings on the edge of the open sites, we would still keep the existing city in a kind of a second tier position. And we didn't want to do that. So by creating green spaces as a connection between the new and the old, they will give quality, these green spaces, to both, to the new and the old. And that was a main theme in our more detailed design for several of these yards, where we, as we explained, try to develop different programs. So for the large site of Farini, it is creating a large urban park that you can compare to the great parks of London, for example, great green public spaces. In smaller sites, we were thinking of more specific functions also for the green spaces. So for Lambrate, it is connecting it to the university campuses that surround the site and the sports site. So there we put a focus on housing for students and on sports activities. While in the northern side of Greco Breda, we were looking at urban farming, at merging, bringing together nature, food production and the city.
So the future of cities is very much about quality of life, and that's of course good housing, nice workplaces, good public space, green areas, but also daily mobility. Imagine you will live in Farini or close by Farini. You can go there by train, you are connected to go to the mountains, maybe you have your own bicycle, you can be a pedestrian, maybe you also have a car, but maybe you share that with your neighbors. So there will be a totally different way of living in the cities, and that's happening all over the world. All the cities in Europe, the big cities in Europe, but even in the rest of the world, try to create very pleasant cities.